friends, we were talking about how urinary tract infection progresses within the urinary tract, and through this video I'll talk to you how infection moves from urethra to next station, and that is urinary bladder. Now, before we start understanding how infection occurs inside the urinary bladder, let us for a while ponder upon what defends the urinary bladder from bacterial attack. Why not everybody keeps getting infection in the bladder? So nature has given every female, every man a system of defense inside the urinary bladder. Only when this defense is overwhelmed, one gets urinary infection. So if you take urinary tract infection as an attack, that means the bladder is kind of a soil, and wherein you get a bacteria as an invader who is attacking the urinary bladder. So there is an interplay between the invader and the soil. When the invader is more strong, it has more strengths, it's more pathological, it's more pathogenic, it is likely to incite infection inside urinary bladder. And obviously, when the defense system of urinary bladder becomes lesser, weaker, whatever strength bacteria have, it can result in urinary infection. So the point I am trying to make is there is some kind of an interplay between these two factors. You have to have a stronger bacteria who has invaded urinary tract, and you have to have weakened bladder defenses to have urinary tract infection. So let's see what are the defense mechanisms of urinary bladder, and then only you understand how to become weak. If you look at the structure of the urinary bladder, it has the mucosal membrane, and then it has a lumen. Now there are certain defense factors which play within the free lumen of urinary bladder, and they are called intraluminal defenses. They are operational all the time in urine, inside the urinary bladder. And then there are certain defense factors which play through the wall, the mucosa of urinary bladder, and they are stationary in the wall of urinary bladder, and they are called luminal defenses. It is just for the sake of your understanding that I categorize defenses into these two. The intraluminal defense system comprises of some core components. The first of all, very old, is what you must be knowing already, is a Tam-Harsh wall protein, which is secreted from renal tubules. It comes in certain concentration inside the urinary bladder lumen within the urine and is inhibitory to bacterial proliferation. Next is the presence of iron chelators within the urine. These iron chelators take the entire iron from the urine, and then bacteria has no iron left over for it to use it. Iron is a nutrient for bacteria. So if there is lesser iron in urine, bacteria will not grow. The next is antimicrobial peptides. These are proteins secreted within the bladder lumen, and then they have antimicrobial property. And of course, you know that the pH of urine, which is acidic most of the time, is inhibitory to bacterial proliferation. Now, I like to draw your attention a little more on antimicrobial peptides. If the bacteria enters the urinary bladder like this, a free bacteria, floating, then the bladder wall, the mucosa, secretes a peptide called defensin, right? And then there is another peptide secreted by bladder wall, and that is cathelicidin. Now these two peptides will go and they launch kind of attack, what's called cationic attack on the bacteria, and they surround the bacteria from all sides, and then the bacteria then cannot get attached to bladder wall, and then it is thrown out in the urine. It's a very powerful defense system in human body, the antimicrobial peptide. what is more there in the bladder which prevents bladder attachment of bacteria, and very important concept to understand. And that is, if a bacteria gains access to the urinary bladder, and if patient is voiding regularly and normally, next time the patient voids, the bacteria is thrown out. And if this voiding takes place within a certain period of time, bacteria will not have enough time to gain foothold on the mucosa, and patient goes and passes urine out, so the bacteria goes out. That's why it is said frequent urination is an inherent way to prevent urinary infection inside urinary bladder. Also, you should understand that there is something called incomplete bladder emptying. But if you have incomplete emptying of urinary bladder and the bacteria has gone inside the bladder and there's a certain amount of urine present inside, the bacteria enjoys that urine like a hot swimming pool, right? So bacteria goes inside that urine and then multiplies on its own sweet will. So incomplete bladder emptying, where in post-void residual urinary volume is left inside, this is a very common reason of breaking the bladder defenses. Moving to the luminal defenses, that means the ones that operate within the mucosa of urinary bladder. And if you see the structure of the mucosa of the human urinary bladder, the mucosa is thrown into many folds. In a resting state, the many folds, as bladder fills up, these folds open up. And you can see that's a scanning picture, and picture on the bottom is a histological picture. And the God has made the human urothelium a multi-layered structure. The most interesting structure is the top layer of the urothelium. In the top layer of urothelium, each cell is closely jutting with the another cell, and it is not one border. They are hexagonal cells, as you can see in this picture, and the intercellular junctions are extremely tight. Bacteria cannot enter through the intercellular junction. If at all it has to enter, it has to gain entry inside the mucosal cell. And then one more thing to see. Surface of the urothelial cell is like an umbrella, and you can see in this picture, umbrella close to umbrella, and that is how the urothelial cell is shaped. And you can imagine when raindrops fall on the umbrella, because of the shape of the umbrella, because of the slippery surface of the umbrella, raindrops do not sustain on the top of the umbrella. That's why the same thing is happening inside the human urinary bladder. The cells of urothelium look like this, and that's why they are called umbrella cells. And there is another reason for bacteria to slip down the umbrella cell surface, and that is a protective uromucoid layer, which is again a slippery protection over the umbrella cell. So God has given us lots of things which prevent entry of bacteria into urinary bladder mucosa. So if I were to sum up the whole thing, what I said about what prevents bladder attachment of bacteria, there are intraluminal defenses, and which are soluble mediators. I mentioned these 4 soluble mediators that mean within the urine, and I mentioned about cyclical bladder emptying, normal or subnormal, and then you have luminal defenses which operate through the wall of the urinary bladder, and I said about slippery surface of umbrella cells, and I also said about uromucoid layers. So when you see a patient of urinary tract infection, particularly a female, you have to keep in mind these basic fundamental facts. There has to be some reason out of these few which has weakened the defense of that particular patient. And if you want to prevent recurrence of urinary infection, you have to restore bladder defenses to normalcy. So thank you very much for being with me. We'll continue this topic in subsequent videos.